Hello and welcome to episode number 56 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and iHeartRadio. My name is Jason Finelli, and I am the esports and gaming insider for Fox PHL The Gambler here in Philadelphia. Beautiful night tonight, a hot time here in the city of brotherly love. But we are here to bring you the best in esports and video games in the past week. Have a great show lined up for you. Will English is back for some more Overwatch League talk. Will English IV guides us into the Summer Showdown Final Four. We're going to talk about Netflix and what they're deciding to do as far as gaming is concerned. And then we're going to round it out with some good old Nickelodeon talk, because Nickelodeon dropped a bomb on us this week, and I am very excited about its prospects. But before we do any of that, let's get right down into the 6 in 60 seconds. The Philadelphia Fusion are out of the Summer Showdown finals after losing both of their matches this past weekend, one in a reverse sweep, going up 2-0 and losing 3-2. Your finalists are the Chengdu Hunters taking on the Dallas Fuel, and the Atlanta Reign taking on the Shanghai Dragons in the first matches of the Summer Showdown Grand Finals, which are coming up this weekend. League of Legends League Championship Series announces that the North American Finals will be live with fans in attendance at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, August 28th and 29th. Elsewhere, NBA 2K22 announces their cover athletes, Luka Doncic, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Durant in one cover, a Japanese exclusive cover for Ryu Hachimura, and finally Candace Parker in a WNBA specific edition. Will be the first ever WNBA player to grace the cover of NBA 2K. Elsewhere, Fortnite has added skins for LeBron James, both original designs and his Toon Squad Space Jam 2 jersey. The ESA's annual 2021 Essential Facts About the Video Game Industry report has launched, including a fact that 227 million people are now playing video games. And finally, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl has been announced, a Smash Bros. Style fighter starring Nick characters from the entire history of the channel, and that's what we'll be talking about later in the show. Those are your 6 in 60 seconds. And as always, the 6 in 60 seconds are brought to you tonight by our sponsor, Ghost Shaver. The Ghost Shaver is designed to feel like it's an extension of your arm, allowing users to reach anywhere on the head, face, or body. The precision cutting system gives you a close and smooth shave every single time, thanks to 5 different rotary flex action super thin blades and a patented handheld design that fits right into your palm precisely. Go to ghostshaver.com to check it out and get yours. Ghost Shaver, a shave above the rest. Yes, folks, those were the 6 in 60 seconds, as usual for the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast. And Nickelodeon Smash Brothers, not a couple of words I thought would ever be linked together, but here we are. I have to say, the roster is already looking pretty slick, just on the 14 of 20 that they've told us about so far, plus the silhouettes you can make out on the cover art that was shown as well. But we'll get into that a little bit later. I'd like to dedicate a little more time to that game and who I think from Nickelodeon lore could make it. First, though, as usual, we're going to talk about the Overwatch League. But also, as usual, we're right on top of the third of the 4 in-season tournaments. Summer Showdown coming up this weekend. The final 4 teams have been set. Your Fusion are not one of them once again. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the Fusion. We're going to get into the Overwatch League as a whole with our regular Overwatch League correspondent from esports.gg and other esports places across the internet. His name is Will English IV. Will, how are you?
I am fantastic, Jason. It was a weekend of firsts, ladies and gentlemen, in the Overwatch League. We had our first, North American homestand, just back after the pandemic. We had all first seeds in the tournament on both East and West making it through to the bracket, and we might have our first repeat champion if the Dallas Fuel or the Shanghai Dragons make it into the finals and win it all. So, which is a pretty safe bet at this point, right? If you're betting chalk, right, like they've done so well, like why can't they do it again?
Right, and I fully expect that we'll have a repeat champion, because what other teams are allowed to be in the grand finals of these tournaments besides Dallas and Shanghai? If you play for anywhere else, you're just not allowed in. I'm sorry. Maybe that'll change for the actual playoffs and grand finals at the end of the season. But let's talk about one of those firsts, seeing as how you were in the building for that homestand, the first one back for the Overwatch League post-COVID-19 pandemic. In your estimation, I know we were talking beforehand about how it didn't live up to the grand finals, but that kind of makes sense, grand finals versus homestand, whatever. In your estimation, how was that first homestand back?
I mean, it was like we never left. I mean, like people, we had a tailgate session, and people were lined up ahead of time.
There you go.
We're in the Texas heat, we're all sweating and everything, but like we were in line, and everybody cheered everybody on. It was crazy to see the response, and also to kind of see it on the broadcast as well, because the broadcast was also remote too. But for what we got, and we got to see the Dallas Fuel on stage, and Sparkle, did his meme dancing as part of the show, and Fearless came out with that Reinhardt hammer, and it was just amazing. It was just electrifying. And on top of that, I mean, the Dallas Fuel fans have something to look forward to, right? Because their team is winning. They won the main melee, and so it's almost like a homecoming for them too. They got to see their boys in action. But outside of, like as you mentioned, outside of like kind of missing some of the other interactions that you would normally see, or at least you would see other teams, it was as close to of a home match as you wanted to see for that thing. And of course, the Dallas Fuel also pulled off the 3-0 as well. I mean, they had a draw in the middle of there, but they did. But for all intents and purposes, they pulled off the 3-0 and won their match. And then that was also a qualifier for the Summer Showdown this time around. So that was almost poetic justice at that point, right? They had to play against Houston to get into the tournament, and Houston was in the same position to get in as well. But either way, man, I mean, if this is what we have to look forward to, I'm hoping that somebody in the Overwatch League press box over there is going to start doing some more events, and maybe back in Texas at the Esports Stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dallas and Houston is starting to become a, for the listeners here, Philly, New York, or Philly, Dallas in the NFL style rivalry. Those two, I feel like they play at least one match every qualifying session, or they have so far, because why wouldn't you? It's money. And Dallas has just seemed to have Houston's number this entire time. But but yeah, again, Dallas continues their domination. I absolutely loved the Reinhardt hammer, since you mentioned it. I am a Reinhardt main myself, so to see the hammer come out and he crashes the hammer and everybody falls over, just a great scene to see that things are slowly returning to normal, slowly but surely getting back into business here. But let's talk about the overall results for my Philadelphia Fusion, and the best way I can describe them is so in the first weekend that they played, they were the definition of mediocrity. They won 3-0, they lost 3-0, so they were 1-1 with 0 map differential, just mediocrity across the line. And then this week too, they come out blazing. They go up 2-0, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, all right, these guys they're locked in, they're dialed in, they know what they want to do, they're finally going to break through here. We might be playing next weekend. And then the reverse sweep happens. And they lose 3 maps to 2 to Chengdu. They come out flat against New York and go down 3-1. And once again, the Fusion are on the outside looking in. It's becoming a tired storyline here on Cheesesteaks and Controllers, but it's just the same dang thing over and over again. Will, to what do you attribute this? I don't want to say catastrophic, because it's not yet. They still have time to recover, as far as playoffs and actual grand finals are concerned. But to what do you contribute the struggles of the Fusion right now?
It's I wouldn't say that the Fusion are struggling. I mean, keep in mind they've been consistent at the very least, right? They're consistently losing, but they are in position to make it into the playoffs into a higher seed. But here's the thing, right? They're playing in the East, and the East is extremely tight.
That's true.
I wouldn't put too much stock in the fact that the results they didn't make it into the bracket. But as you mentioned, there's only 2 teams out of the 6 teams that are there that could make it through into the bracket, into the finals. So every game counts, and so you take one loss and your chances lower significantly. So also too, this tournament did not have the hero pool. So the last tournament, the Countdown Cup will have the hero pools again, so stuff is going to be banned. So I think it was also just an adjustment. Like later in the year, like adjustment to the back to the meta. You're practicing one thing, and now you're back into I can use whatever the heck I want to, and then people can pull out whatever strats that they want as opposed to working around some of the bans that they had in the last tournament. And so, but like any team playing in the East right now, it's just so tight. It's just so tight. Like not even a 2-2 record. Is gonna get you out of there. But the Fusion, on the other hand, though, do not. There is a silver lining in all of this, right? They've played consistently enough that I think they're going to make it into the upper side of the bracket during the playoffs, which we can talk about later. But the idea is at least you're not the Valiant, right? The Valiant are 0-12, and the only thing their record is being a spoiler alert to one of the teams to making it into the main or to June Joust. And so that's it, man. Like at least they're on an upward trend. Now, if they do make it into the Countdown Cup, that would be great for them. That would just put them in a really good position going into the playoffs later in the year. But I wouldn't say that I wouldn't put too much stock onto they're not doing well or they're struggling or whatever. It's a tough racket to play through, and you also have the Shanghai being extremely dominant, which who knew we would be saying that this year, even though they made it into the finals last year. But imagine the rolling off the tongue, the Shanghai Dragons are making it into the main melee. The Shanghai Dragons have made it into the June Joust. The Shanghai Dragons have won the June Joust. It's just never imagine myself saying that in those words. But the Philadelphia Fusion are not too far behind. I wouldn't worry too much, Jason.
All right, well, I appreciate that. You're talking me off the ledge here a little bit. I keep forgetting that even though they're not making the individual in-season tournaments, all these wins still count towards the end of the year. So it's not time to really raise any flags of alarm until we get to the Countdown Cup, and they're getting reverse swept on Saturday once again. So let's move on a little bit then to the Summer Showdown as a whole. So I was on vacation, dead center of it. Missed week 2, basically the entire thing. I come back and I look at some standings and I catch up on the scores. And Boston Uprising, who until now had been a bit of a punching bag at the end of the bottom of the Western Conference there, had found their stride. They were 3-0. They had a +9 map differential when I was looking last Saturday, and I thought to myself, "Wow, am I talking about Boston getting into the the June the Summer Showdown here? Is Boston Uprising going to break this Dallas Shanghai trend?" And then the bottom fell out. They went 0-3, I think, in their 4th match, and then bowed out gracefully from the final qualifiers. And now we're talking about the same teams we're always talking about. Give me your summary of what happened in the Summer Showdown, first with Boston, and then other big storylines coming out of it as a whole.
We were talking about the Fusion a little bit earlier. Can you imagine being in the San Francisco Shock right now? You have all the pressure in the world, and then they embraced the meme. They went 2-2, and the schedule was a little bit weird for most of the teams because usually they're kind of evenly distributed. But because of some of the games being on homestands, they were trying to arrange some of the drama. So you had your Dallas and Houston match at the as a qualifier for this Summer Showdown. But the idea is the San Francisco Shock were 2-2, and they had this really complicated meme map of if this thing happens and this thing happens, and I think it involved 5 different teams on their side, then they can make it in, only to get edged out by the Los Angeles Gladiators at the last spot at 2-2. There were just 2 map differentials off. I mean, I was trying to figure out before the show, when did they exactly get mathematically eliminated? Because that was the one thing that I was trying to watch. I was like, if they somehow limp into the tournament, that would be amazing. As far as the Boston Uprising is concerned, punching bag is, and I think it's a little bit of a misnomer for the Boston Uprising. I mean, they were uprising a little bit too.
That's true.
In June Joust, and so it's just you kind of hit this stride and actually kind of broke through. But again, experience is the best teacher, right? Unfortunately, because you had that first set of games in the West, right? And it's brutal, man. They played against the Gladiators, and they just limped in and were really, really hungry, and they took the Atlanta Reigns to 5 games. So I mean, I wouldn't feel too bad about it, right? You did lose, all things being equal and trends being from the other 2 tournaments, the Boston Uprising actually had a really good shot at making it in this time, but just the trend, fate had intervened and decided the Atlanta Reign wanted another shot at the tournament. And then of course you had again the Washington Justice, which again I have it on good authority while it was at the at the Battle for Texas, between Dallas and Houston. I did ask Sparkle, and Fearless, what team were they scared of, right? Because they made it in, they clinched their spot, and then it's like, what team are they? And they mentioned the Washington Justice, and what do you know, right? They had to defend them off, as a surging team to get into the Countdown Cup. So I just. To Summer Showdown. So the idea is it wasn't exactly chaos, but just don't count out both of those teams. Like, there are teams that are really, really hungry in the West here, and so you see a little different makeup. I mean, the Houston Outlaws didn't make it for the first time. They made it into the past 2 knockouts, and they're nowhere to be found. The Paris Eternal, on the other hand, like the St. Drill, they made it into the knockouts, and they're also kind of uprising and surging, as it were, to coin a phrase. And so, the West is a little bit in flux right now, I would say, but the East is extremely tight. As we mentioned, the same teams have made it in. Seoul, almost got edged out by Chengdu. They took them to 5 maps, and then New York and Excelsior. You can't see this with the power of radio, but I have a Dallas Fuel jersey on now right now. I think I'm thinking about changing allegiances here, because it's just come on. I mean, I understand it's Shanghai, but you could have done something about that, but they didn't make it in either. So here we are.
Yep, there we are. And so we come to the Final Four in the Summer Showdown once again. And if you've been following along with us here, you're going to hear a lot of very familiar names, because I was doing some research before we started here. I looked at the 3 brackets so far, and of the 12 slots that were available in these, in the May Melee, June Joust, and Summer Showdown combined, only 6 of the 20 teams have made it this far. Dallas and Shanghai have made every single one. Atlanta made the last one and this one. Chengdu made the first one and this one, with the only outliers being the Florida Mayhem, who made the May Melee, and the New York Excelsior, who made the June Joust. So, very familiar faces here, teams that are very familiar with the format and how this will go. I'm looking at your prediction bracket here, and it seems like you and I are pretty much in alignment that we're going to have a Dallas-Shanghai rubber match after Dallas won the May Melee against Shanghai, and Shanghai returned the favor in the June Joust. Getting there, again, very similar. You have Dallas over Chengdu in the first round, and Shanghai over Atlanta 3-0. I have Atlanta 3-1, because I'd like to think Atlanta would win at least one map, right? I mean, Shanghai's good, but not against Shanghai. Okay, so then in the loser side, you have Chengdu and Atlanta. Again 3-0, but again, I think Atlanta can take one from Chengdu, don't you? Oh my God. You are not very confident in the Atlanta Reign's chances here.
I never have, and I never will.
Which means, as usual, congratulations to the Summer Showdown champion, Atlanta Reign. Didn't happen last time. Didn't jinx it last time. That's probably not going to jinx it this time either. Okay, so then in the winners round 2, you have Dallas moving on to the grand finals from the winner's side, Shanghai dropping down to play Chengdu, and Shanghai taking care of business there. I am in agreement with all of that. And then Dallas and Shanghai grand finals number 3. You and I are actually on different sides to this.
Ooh. Controversy.
Yes, you have Dallas getting revenge on Shanghai from the June Joust and winning 4 maps to 3. And I think that Shanghai, after winning the way that they did in the June Joust, going down and then fighting all the way back to win, they may be a little more confident this time against Dallas right from the start. And I feel like this is going to go back and forth, but Shanghai is going to pull out that 4th map and be your champions. What makes you think Dallas is going to get that win back and win this rubber match?
So it's mostly it's a selection bias, because I did see them in action. I did ask Fearless about that, just how confident is he thinking he's going to get back into the tournament and winning it all, because he already clinched himself into the knockouts, and I just assumed from that moment, which I shouldn't have, but it was kind of not a safe prediction to make, but I assumed they were going to make it into the Summer Showdown. So I was just like, hey, how do you feel about that? And what's funny is I think he mentioned, I got to look back through my interview, but I think he mentioned them losing to Shanghai last time was kind of an unfortunate mistake, and they want to just basically take revenge and do that again. So based on that alone, looking at confirmation bias, I asked the player in person, so I'm just gonna ride in that faith. And again, through the power of radio, wearing my Dallas Field jersey, I'm just going to bless them, and hopefully they pull this out. It's gonna make it for a great story either way. I mean, I'm definitely confident about the grand finals, but just like in the previous tournament, if it goes the other way, I wouldn't be too disappointed, right? But at least they got the last 2 teams right.
Sure. And if so, you're wearing the jersey. You talk to the players. If I had to name this bracket, it would be Simpson because that's a homer pick if I've ever heard one. And so, all right, so I can see that. It's honestly when it gets to that grand finals, if it's Dallas and Shanghai, it's a coin flip because they played each other so tough in these first 2 finals. They're very familiar with each other. I would hope, and they also played, I believe, in the winners finals of the June Joust. Let me find that bracket. So, yeah. It was they definitely played more than just the grand finals. Oh, they have seen each other in both of them. They saw each other in the winners finals of the May Melee and then in the first round of the June Joust. So they are more than familiar with each other, having played 5 times already in this tournament. So who else than Dallas and Shanghai to end this tournament as they've ended the other 2 and just keep that domination going throughout the Overwatch League season. Real quick, before we get into it, outlooking towards the playoffs and talking about what we were mentioning earlier, I just want to tell you that while you were talking just then, I had a slight heart attack, and here's why. Overwatch League just put out a tweet at 9 p.m., so 10 minutes ago. Due to travel delays out of our control, we will be canceling the Summer Showdown Wacky Workshops segment to give teams more time to prepare for matches. We thank fans for their understanding and are looking forward to tournament play on Thursday. Disappointing, yes. Big deal. In the grand scheme of things, no. But when I originally read this, I didn't read Wacky Workshops. So I read, we will be canceling the Summer Showdown, and I almost stopped you dead in your tracks to quickly change conversation, but we don't have to do that. We don't have to talk about that. Just RIP Wacky Workshops for the Summer Showdown. Hopefully we see you next time when travel delays aren't an issue. All right, so let's jump into now. Let's look towards, not the Countdown Cup. Let's go around the Countdown Cup and talk about the main finals. What has to happen in the Countdown Cup for teams to get over the hump and get into that main bracket at the end of the season? Now, you were talking about who qualifies and how. There is a drop down. I'm on the standings page right now, 2021 regular season, West and East here. And there's a little drop down that says at the end of the regular season, the top 3 from the West and top 2 from the East will directly qualify into the playoffs. A play-in tournament for each region will qualify an additional 3 teams, 2 from the West and 1 from the East, into the remaining spots in the 8-team double elimination playoff bracket. So 5 teams from the West and 3 from the East will make the postseason, 3 and 2 of which will qualify without having to earn it, and then 2 West and 1 East will have to earn it. So if we're looking at this right now, in the West, Dallas, San Francisco, and Houston qualify automatically. And if we're going based on seeds as who would be the favorites in the play-in, LA Gladiators and Washington Justice are going to represent the West. And then in the East, Shanghai and Seoul would qualify automatically. And based on seeding and tiebreakers, based on how the standings look right here, your team, your town, your Philadelphia Fusion would be that 3rd team. There are 3 teams tied at 7-5 right now with 45 matches played. But the Hangzhou Spark, and with all 3 of them have the same map differential at +7. How the hell does that happen? But Philadelphia, I believe, has the edge for direct head-to-head victories and map differential in those victories. Because, I think Philadelphia and Chengdu have played twice. Philly won 3-1. Chengdu won 3-2. So Philly has a +1 map differential there, and Philly is 2-0 against Hangzhou. So that's why they drop. So that's what we'd be looking at right now. For a team like Atlanta sitting at number 6, or Chengdu or Hangzhou sitting in that tiebreaker range, other than the obvious win during the Countdown Cup, is there any adjustments that you could see them making, or anything that you could see them doing to get over that hump and try and sneak into the playoffs, whether it be through a play-in or in those top 3 seeds?
I mean, here's the thing, right? So like you've got one more tournament left. You got 4 points that you can make if you win all your games. Now, if we go off of tradition, right? If we go off of previous tradition, right? They would have to do something magnanimous, right? If the Philadelphia Fusion somehow played out and went 4-0 in the Countdown qualifiers, right? That'll put them in a pretty good spot, even if they don't qualify, because then. Past that, the only way you can get more points is to win the actual cup, as you mentioned. There's only 3 points for the win, and 2 for second, and 1 for third. So, if you go 4-0 and you win it all, you get 7, and that's a swing. So you forget about Dallas and Shanghai for the one, because they both have a tournament win each, and that vaults them beyond. No one's going to catch them unless they decide to take their foot off the gas and not do well. So now we're talking about in the West. We're talking about San Francisco, Houston, and those two teams. I would say that the Shock out of all of them are the most vulnerable, right? So like the Gladiators could make some adjustments, and then and they did well. Like I say, they did well in this tournament, right? And they're peaking at the right time. So the idea is like every game is going to come down the wire. Is going to count. And I would think that if the Los Angeles Gladiators or the Justice can pull out 3 wins, right, that would put them in a good position to either just qualify straight out, right? And then if they're going to play in the play-ins, I think that they would be at the top of the bracket. Like I think they would just be in the top of the knockouts as well as teams getting in. So like it wouldn't matter per se. It's just like you want to be in the top 5 in the West, and you want to be in the top 3 in the East. Right. So for the Philadelphia Fusion, on the other hand, like the road is a little bit tougher because Shanghai is going to play well, and they have 15 league points right now. They're at the top. Forget about it. And you ain't touching it. You ain't touching it. But the idea is that like you've got 2 wins between yourself and Seoul, right? So like again, if you can, I don't know if they're going to play them in the qualifiers, but that would help them tremendously.
They are. They're playing Shanghai and Seoul in the qualifiers.
Oh dear. Now here's the fun part, right? If they win both of those games, right, that would make a huge difference in their road to the playoffs here, because that would just probably put them in prime position. And even if they don't qualify for the Countdown Cup, right? Again, there's only 3 points, max that you can make out of it, and you have to win 2 games to get it, right? like effectively. But like either way, it's like the Philadelphia Fusion. Like I said, they've pulled 2 or 3 wins out of each one of these brackets. If they win 2, but if they win the 2 against the teams that are top, on top of the bracket, that's going to be huge for them.
Yes.
Chengdu, on the other hand, St. Drill is just like to break that tiebreaking. Now I can't imagine a scenario where there's gonna be like this 4-way tie, right? Because again, anything outside of third place is not gonna really matter for the playoffs or the play-ins and stuff like that. It just matters the position of the team you end up playing, to try to get in. But either way, I mean, like it could be interesting. And then, LA, forget about it. Like this is like the effectively the Spitfire, the Titans, and the Valiant seasons are done. So if you're the Philadelphia Fusion and the Valiant have to play one of your teams that you're trying to knock out, I mean, hey, what better motivation to be spoiler alert for again? The Valiant did that once, right? So that maybe they can do it again.
I don't want them to do it again. I just want them to go quietly into that good night. At least they won 2 maps this time. I think last time I checked, they hadn't even won a map yet in all of the Overwatch League so far.
They had 1 map.
They have 2. Right now, I'm looking at their standings: 2-36 and 1 draw.
Yeah,
that's in 38 matches. They've played the least matches in the entire league, and oh dear. I'm sorry, yeah. LA. I don't mean to rag on you, but oh dear. But yeah, looking at at Philly's qualifiers there, Shanghai and Seoul, like we talked about, New York, because they always play New York, and then Hangzhou, the other tiebreaker.
Ooh.
So, it might not be a tiebreaker after the Shanghai match. They play Hangzhou second, so that might not be a tie anymore. Hopefully, it's Philadelphia going up 3 in the standings. But either way, there is still a lot of Overwatch to happen, still a lot of excitement to be had before we roll into Grand Finals, and I am starting the position right now that the Overwatch League Grand Finals, just, for karmic reasons, go back to the place they were the last time they kicked off in 2019. That town was a good host. They could be a good host again. I'll even check the schedule to make sure the Wells Fargo Center is free. I feel like it's just, why the hell not? Got to go somewhere, right? But, Will... once again, you have talked us through the weeds and are letting us know everything that we need to know about the Summer Showdown, picking up my slack and making me look better than I ever deserve to be. Thank you so much for your time and your words and your insights. I look forward to speaking to you again, but right before the Countdown Cup, if not before, tease, pinky to mouth like Dr. Evil. Thank you, Will, for your time. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. No problem. See you then.
All right, welcome back to the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast here on Fox PHL The Gambler. Now we're going to move on to an interesting piece of news that broke a couple days ago. We're still pretty fresh going on here in the video game world. Actually, just broke earlier today on Thursday as I'm recording. If you're hearing this on Friday, it was yesterday. If you're hearing this on Saturday, it was 2 days ago. And it seems that we're having a new entry into the world of gaming. Netflix, the king of streaming, and its 200 million subscribers are about to be injected with some video games. According to the CNN business article I have in front of me, the company will offer video games on its service within the next year, according to a report by Bloomberg. The outlet says video games will appear as a new genre on the platform, similar to documentaries and stand-up comics. Bloomberg did not get into specifics, but did report that Netflix does not plan on charging extra for access to its games. The article goes on to say how, with new streaming services like Disney Plus and other ones starting to catch up to where Netflix is, they need to try something different and or something new, find its next big thing, and going the video game route might be that option. Now, this is not without precedent. This is not something that Netflix has not dabbled in before. There's two instances that come to the top of my head as I think about Netflix and gaming. The first one is the original interactive show that they had put out not too long ago. It was a part of the Black Mirror series called Bandersnatch, or in the Black Mirror universe, I believe. And you basically watched a TV show, and every once in a while, you would pick up your remote controller and be asked to make a decision as to where the story would go, a choice that the character on screen would have to make. It was very rudimentary, but it was there, and it did give players, give viewers a little more than just sitting and watching TV. The second one is when it added Telltale's Minecraft Story Mode as an option for viewing on Netflix. Same thing. Now, Telltale's formula, for those who don't remember or who are too young to remember, which good for you, good, stay young. But they used to make, they made games like The Walking Dead. They made games like Tales from the Borderlands. They had a Game of Thrones game that came out, a Batman game that came out, Guardians of the Galaxy, a bunch of different games. The Wolf Among Us is one of my favorite games of all time. And basically those games were interactive movies. You would make dialogue choices for the characters. You would make certain action choices. In certain parts, you would mash a button in like a quick time event sort of thing in order to get past a certain challenge and move on to the next part of the story. And Netflix had put Minecraft Story Mode, which was Telltale's take on the Minecraft universe, on Netflix for people to watch or play along with as part of Netflix. So this is not something they haven't tried before. And it is something that I am interested to see them dabble in. But here's the thing. I don't want to see them dabble in it for a couple of years. I want this story to be just the beginning of the ball rolling. I want it they announced that they're going for it today. They announced the person that's going to be doing it for them, the former Facebook and Electronic Arts executive who's going to oversee it. But if they're developing games in-house, if they are building exclusive, original video games from scratch, I don't want to see a single one of those games for at minimum 4 years. And the reason is game development is much more strenuous and much more work intensive, than people seem to believe. And there are two recent examples, of this phenomenon. The first one is Google, who thought they were going to come out and change the industry as a whole with Stadia. Stadia is still kicking, don't get me wrong, but it is not the world beater that they anticipated. Not to mention all of the games they were planning on working on in-house, all the games they were developing in-house, those studios have all been shuttered, and now Stadia is depending on third parties to give them games to stream on their service. They thought they were going to come in, announce in 2019, and turn the world upside down, but then they realized that game development is a hell of a lot harder than they expected it. These companies aren't just churning out games like they're machines. These are people that have to code and program, and a lot goes into these games. I once read on Twitter that every game that actually launches is a miracle, and having seen some behind-the-scenes stuff at stadiums, that is 100% true. And Google learned that the hard way, but at least Google has something to show for it. Stadia still exists, the streaming service is still pretty popular, and people are still using it just for third-party titles and not really any originals or exclusives. Amazon, on the other hand, is a completely different story. Amazon now has put out 2 games developed in-house into beta beta testing where players could come in and test the systems, test the world, test everything out before the game actually launched on Amazon. And both of those games had to go back into active development. Betas were canceled. And basically, it almost seems like those games started from scratch. So instead of the normal course of action where the game is developed, the game goes into a beta test, the beta test happens, and a couple months later, the game comes out, this was the opposite. The test came out, and people realized, whoa, this needs a whole lot more work, and it went back into full-time development. No more testing until these things were worked on. That is troublesome, and I don't think Amazon Game Studios their internal studios has put out a single game yet. I could be wrong about that. There might be one or two that I'm forgetting, but I don't think they've put out a single game yet, because once again, the executives thought that they could get an easy way through game development, and you just can't do that. So hopefully third time is the charm here, and Netflix understands what game development requires, what game development needs to be successful, and what game development needs most is time. Time to flourish, time to work, time where your developers are not being crunched into oblivion, working 60, 65-hour weeks, killing themselves to get this game out, because all that will do is affect the product negatively. This needs to be a long, patient, drawn-out process. You can tease your games. You can come out and say the kind of things that you have ideas about, but you cannot rush development of these games. And hopefully, a former executive of companies like EA and Facebook understand that. Electronic Arts, obviously huge, no denying that, but also Facebook, not only do they have the Facebook games like Farmville and whatever that was back in the 2011s, 2012s, but they are very big in the world of virtual reality specifically. They own Oculus. So the Oculus Quest 2 and the Oculus, all that good stuff, they own all of that. So they are well aware of developing for this industry and putting games out for this industry. So hopefully this guy takes his applied knowledge and says, look, I don't know what you think you're going to do here, but we're not talking about any original content from us for half a decade. Now, if they want to open up the streaming service to other games, like third-party games, kind of like what Stadia is doing, and go the opposite way, where they soft launch, with third-party games, like let's say Resident Evil Village on Netflix, and then you keep going from there until your original games come out, that would be fine, but then you run the risk of, are you going to make the Netflix app compatible with Bluetooth controllers? You would have to, because a TV remote is not going to be able to control a game like Resident Evil Village, at least not comfortably, so you're going to have an option there. Maybe you put out your own controller that connects via Bluetooth, along with the Bluetooth-connected controllers that are already out there. You could try that. You have to make sure that your TV then is also compatible with Bluetooth, and that's not very common. If you're streaming through your phone, that's a little bit easier to manage, because then you have like the Xbox Series X controller is Bluetooth, PS5 DualSense is Bluetooth, so they would be able to connect to the phone and do it that way. But then you're running into the conundrum that Netflix is making me pay for the subscription. Granted, I'm not paying any more than I normally would. This is the normal subscription price, but Xbox Game Pass, I'm already on Xbox Live Ultimate. Why don't I get Game Pass and just do it that way? And I can't imagine that games that already exist would perform better in a Netflix streaming service than they would in an Xbox Game Pass, at least for the games that are on that. I don't know if they would put Netflix at timed exclusives, where if game launches on Netflix as an exclusive streaming service for a little while, a la their shows. I don't know how you would approach that, but the idea is there. There are a lot of kinks to work out. There are a lot of obstacles to work out. And I don't want to know anything specific about this for another, 4 or 5 years at the earliest, maybe 3 years at the earliest, if a game's not coming out for 5. That's the first time I want to talk about Netflix in the gaming sector, unless they're borrowing games or licensing games from other third-party publishers. That would be fine with me, kind of like they did with Minecraft Story Mode. Otherwise, I am hesitant. I am hesitant, and I am weary, and I am wary of what's going on here. And I know I'm not alone in that. Michael Pachter from Wedbush Securities, who has been a business analyst in the video game industry for years, as long as I've been covering the industry, and then more so, we're talking multiple decades, has already predicted that this little initiative will fail miserably and it will all be for naught. I am a little more hopeful because I'm hoping that Netflix can learn from the mistakes of the past, your Google Stadia and your Amazon game studios, and put out something that's a little more clean, a little more streamlined, makes a little more sense. But I don't know. We're not going to know what happens there until it happens. But let's talk about, for a little bit, just to end this segment out, what kind of games Netflix could give us. Like, I'm going to look up right now, as I am finishing this sentence, a list of Netflix exclusive shows. And I want to see, I am genuinely curious, what sort of games or movies or TV shows, or not games, movies, TV shows, anime, whatever, would be suitable for video games. I am quite interested to see where this goes. Now, the first one comes to mind is Stranger Things. Stranger Things, with its horror and action aspect, is already a video game that was a isometric 16-bit action game. Stranger Things Season 3, I believe, was the full name of it. So we know that can be adapted into a video game, but it would also make a good Telltale Games style game where you have dialogue choices to make, and diverting paths in the storyline. Stranger Things could really lend itself well to that sort of format, just like The Walking Dead did. So if they wanted to go that route and potentially try that, I'd be all about that. That would be a great idea. Honestly, after that, there's not a whole lot. I mean, Cobra Kai already has a couple of games as well. That might be a fun one. I do not want to play a game for Boss Baby back in business, but it could be good for the kids. Peaky Blinders already has a fantastic game that came out last year. That show just ended, but it could always put that game on the service just to get a start, and then maybe come out with another one after that. The Witcher, The Witcher was a video game first. Porting those games to a Netflix game service would make a lot of sense. Interesting idea here now that I look at it. I would play a adventure, Telltale, Life is Strange sort of video game based on the Queen's Gambit, where you have like scenes that are playing out where you're choosing dialogue and making choices for the main character, but also playing chess and being challenged in chess to advance the story. And you could have a story divergence where if you win the match, this happens. If you lose the match, this happens. That might be one that I would noodle if I was in the, at the drawing board at Netflix, seeing what's going on there. But yeah, as I'm going through these like original Netflix, the popular ones specifically, Michael Pachter, who I mentioned earlier, was specifically like, do you want to play Bridgerton, the video game? This is going to fail miserably. And while I agree that I do not want to play Bridgerton, the video game, that would not be Shonda Rhimes' first foray into video games. Let's not forget the original storyline Grey's Anatomy, the video game for the Wii and the PC and a couple other games. I mean, you can forget it. It was a blight on gaming, but it did exist. And so Bridgerton, the video game, is not out of the realm of possibility, unfortunately. But then I'm looking at things like Sweet Tooth and The Umbrella Academy and The Last Kingdom, The Great British Baking Show. You might have a good Cooking Mama-esque game there. Orange is the New Black would do well in the Telltale system, I think, like an original side story at that prison or at another prison. There are some options here as I'm looking at this. Troll Hunters would be good for the kids. Cocomelon, my God, a Cocomelon video game. I wouldn't be allowed to play any other video games ever, but that would make some sense. It would not be out of the realm of possibility. A lot of these things wouldn't be, but I do need to see what their actual plans are for this streaming gaming system. Is it original games? Is it games that already exist? Is it games that are going to exist but from actual developers? Like you just buy the right or get the rights to them to stream on your service the same way Stadia or Amazon Luna would. I need to see more. I am cautiously optimistic, let's say. Cautiously optimistic that Netflix might be able to pull this out. But I am not going to sit here and tell you that it's going to be a revolution in video games, because that's what Google tried to do. And frankly, it didn't work out for them. All right. Let's get into the last segment of episode 56 of Cheesesteaks and Controllers. And we are going light and fancy-free for this last segment. We're going to talk about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, a brand new Super Smash Bros. Style game, as mentioned in the 6 and 60 seconds at the top of the show, featuring all Nickelodeon characters. Now, you hear that. Like, I heard it when I first heard the pitch for this game. The IGN had the exclusive reveal. I hear that and I think, oh man, it's just going to be a bunch of, Nickelodeon characters that from like current Nickelodeon series and things that I don't know, and it's cool to have a Smash Brothers game, but it's not going to be something that I'm going to enjoy. It's going to remind me of the Cartoon Network Punch Time Explosion that came out in the mid to early 2010s, which was essentially Cartoon Network's take on the Super Smash Brothers formula, that had some pretty decent roster to it. Like Samurai Jack was in that game, and Ben 10 and Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory, but did not quite live up to its potential, if you ask me. But it seems like this Nickelodeon game, Fair Play Labs and Ludosity, are going to take a crack at it. Ludosity having made the excellent Smash-esque indie game Slap City, so they have a little bit of experience in this genre. But going back to my original point, you hear the Nickelodeon thing and you think, oh, these characters, they're only going to be from current shows. I'm not going to know who anybody is. Even though it's Smash Brothers, it's not really for me. Whoa, doctor, is that absolutely 100% not the case? I'm going to read to you right now all of the characters that appeared in the trailer for this game, the original launch trailer, reveal trailer for this game that debuted earlier this week. And if you're an older gamer, or if you're, my parents, or if you're anybody that's listening to this that hasn't had to watch Nickelodeon for their children in 10 to 15 years, I think you'll be surprised with how many characters you're going to know here. So let's start with Helga Pataki from Hey Arnold. His worst enemy and secret, love interest, whatever you want to call it. I love Hey Arnold, so seeing her here is awesome. Danny Phantom from Danny Phantom. That was a little bit after my time on Nickelodeon, but still a very good show as I understand it. 3 SpongeBob SquarePants representatives in SpongeBob, Patrick Star, and Sandy Cheeks. The squirrel with the astronaut suit on. That makes sense. I would expect SpongeBob to have a lot of representation here because SpongeBob is very popular, so it just makes sense. Invader Zim himself is part of the game, which I think is a very awesome entry. That was just at the end of my Nickelodeon watching. I was a big fan of that show. I used to sing the Doom song all the time, and now, ironically, my kids sing a song from the new Invader Zim movie that their nephew taught them. They sing it all the time, and it makes me want to tear my ears off. So I'm kind of getting my due justice from singing the Doom song all the time. You have 2 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Leonardo and Michelangelo. I would like to see the other 2, but I also don't want the roster to be all Ninja Turtles, so we'll see what happens there. Nigel Thornberry from the Wild Thornberries, the meme man himself. That's an excellent choice for this game. I cannot say enough how smashing, to use the right term, how smashing it is that Nigel is part of this game. I haven't heard any voice acting yet in this first trailer, but if there are voices, his is going to be one that I am definitely looking forward to. We do have a Rugrats representative, but it is not a baby. Don't worry, we're not going to be beating up babies. It is Reptar, the dinosaur, the Godzilla-like monster that the babies were always digging, and they had the dolls, and they had the all that stuff. It was their big TV program. Reptar is here. A appearance from Real Monsters, which I forgot existed for a little while. Ablina, the long black and white candy cane looking thing, is in this game now as well. The only two people on the roster I don't know are Lincoln and Lucy Loud from the Loud House. That was after my time. Not sure what's going on there. I have to look into that a little bit just to understand who they are. And then my favorite addition to the game, one that I still cannot believe that I saw in this trailer, that's Powdered Toast Man from Ren and Stimpy. What a fantastic addition that is. He will be the first person I choose when this game comes out in the fall. Believe that. So that's your roster who was in the trailer. But then one of the retailers, I want to say it was Target, put out a box art that had some silhouettes on it. And through the silhouettes, we found a couple other characters who were not in that original trailer who may be coming as well. Cat Dog being one of them, also an excellent choice. Ren and Stimpy were on the cover, but we don't know if they're separate or together. Together, they would make a nice Ice Climbers dynamic, if you ask me. I think I would keep them that way, but I'm not making the games. That's up to them. And then Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender and Korra from the follow-up, Korra, also on the cover. Korra is definite. You cannot mistake Korra. Aang is a little more hidden. It's just his hand that's tipping people off, but still some very cool additions there as well. But the sky is the limit. We have between now and the fall to find out more about this game. I would love to know more characters that are coming to it. I want to see just how deep into the nitty-gritty of Nickelodeon lore they're going to get. Are they going to give me Kablam or Action League Now? Are they going to bring us some Rocko's Modern Life? How about some Angry Beavers? There's plenty of choices to be made in this game. I saw a tweet that I thought was absolutely brilliant, where the loading screens, you have tips for people who are playing the game, tips for like moves or strategies or whatever. You can have those tips be Lori Beth Denberg from that Good Advice segment she used to do on All That. I thought that was hysterical. Somebody talked about the ring announcer or the game announcer for the game being Mike O'Malley or Maura Quirk from Guts, or Mark Summers, or Olmec from Legends of the Hidden Temple, or Kirk Fogg. I love that as well. Something about this game just really struck a chord with the entire internet. I don't know if it was the nostalgia, or the fact that it looked like a half-decent Smash Brothers competitor, or the fact that it has rollback netcode, so the online is going to be very, very good, which is not something that Super Smash Bros. Ultimate can say. There's just a lot to like. There's a lot to like and really be excited for in this silly, one-off Nickelodeon, game. And I don't... It's hard to explain, really. It's hard to explain just how excited I am about it and why I'm so excited about it. But it just seems like a lightning in a bottle, flash in a pan sort of thing. And it really does depend also how far into the nostalgia they are willing to go. What kind of shows they are interested in tapping for this. Are they going to give us, Rocko's Modern Life? Are they going to give us Angry Beavers or any of those? Doug Funny, the first Nicktoon that ever was. Are they going to give us that? There's just a lot of things to consider. There's a lot of properties for Nickelodeon to think about. And honestly, I'm going to give you a couple of my predictions or hopes or dreams right here and now, based on the Wikipedia list of Nicktoons, all of the Nicktoons that existed back in the day. Now, I've already given you some of them. I think a Doug representative would make a lot of sense, but there might be some weird licensing thing going on because of when it was on ABC. I don't know who owns the rights now, so we'll have to come back to that one. If it were me, it would be Quail Man, or it would be a Doug Funny where he changes costumes. He could be Quail Man, he could be Crash Adams, he could be one of his alter egos. That would be one that I would enjoy. Rugrats already has Reptar, and I don't really see how you could get any more from that. The parents are fine, but you don't want, cartoon characters smacking around babies, so I think that might be as far as Rugrats can go. Ren and Stimpy on the cover. Powdered Toast Man also part of this game. What a fantastic addition. Love every second of that. Not sure how much further you could go with Ren and Stimpy. There aren't many more characters really to tap from that show either. I think you've basically run them all out, unless you want to bring in the horse, but I don't think the horse is well known enough to gain a spot. I would like, though, if maybe in another loading screen, it's just him saying, "No, sir. No, sir, I don't like it." That horse. Anyway, Rocco's Modern Life needs at least 2 characters. If I'm making this game, I'm putting in Rocco himself, and I'm putting in Heifer Wolf. But honorable mention goes to Filbert Turtle, because that would be hysterical. Ed Bighead would be funny. Bev Bighead would be even better. But there's a lot of good choices there in Rocco's Modern Life. All Real Monsters, we have Ablina. I think Ickis is a better choice for number 2. I don't think Crumb would really work in this, because he holds his eyes in his hands. I think it would just be weird. So I'm not really feeling that one. Hey Arnold, we have Helga. Arnold himself, obviously, would be a big get, but I'm not sure what they'll do there. I like Gerald. Gerald would be sweet also. Talked about Kablam. Now, Kablam had more than just the Action League now. I do not think, as much as I think it would be funny, that we are going to get The Flesh, which is just a naked strongman. That was the best. You might get, if you go Action League now, you might get Thunder Girl or Stinky Diver, even though those characters don't really make a lot of sense. Prometheus and Bob from Kablam would be interesting. Man, this is what's so cool about this game. It's just a quick jaunt through memory lane as you're talking about all the stuff that could be in this game. The Angry Beavers, I would also, if Ren and Stimpy's going to do an Ice Climbers thing, Angry Beavers could too. You get Filbert, it's a Norbert, and I don't remember the other one. I never remember the second Beaver's name. It's Norbert, Dag and Norb. Daggett and Norbert, that's it. On one team, I think that's how they would work the best. I don't know that they would be very good separately. But Angry Beavers deserves to be in the show. We talked about, we already looked at Kablam. How did I lose my place here? Hold on just 1 second. I'm very sorry. This list is very extensive. The Wild Thornberries has Nigel. I don't really think you could get more out of it than that. Unless you bring in the brother who's like the feral brother. That could be interesting. Cat Dog, obviously already in the game as far as the cover is concerned. I think that's as far as it goes there. Rocket Power is one that's not represented yet. The Fairly Odd Parents is one that's not represented yet. Invader Zim is. Jimmy Neutron is not represented yet. And I think that might be the biggest, holy crap, how is there not a Jimmy Neutron character in this game yet of all? Jimmy Neutron himself makes the most sense, obviously. But there are plenty of characters that you could pull from Jimmy Neutron to put in this little game. And then after that, I mean, Danny Phantom's there, Avatar's there, Korra is there also, as we'll get into. You're going to bring in, like, they had a lot of shows that were based on, DreamWorks cartoons. So you're going to bring in people from Barnyard in Madagascar. Poe from Kung Fu Panda has ties to Nickelodeon. That could be interesting. The Winx Club, which was the superhero girls, I believe. That could be interesting. You do have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles already, so it makes sense for the rest of those properties. There's just a lot that they could do. There's a lot of different series that they could pull from. There's a lot of different IPs that they have at their disposal here. The sky is absolutely the limit, and that's just Nicktoons. If they wanted to get into their live action stuff, we talked about all that. We could talk about Kenan and Kel. We could talk about what else did they have? They had oh man, why am I blanking on these? You could have all the Snick stuff. Like Clarissa Explains. So imagine Clarissa or Ferguson in this game. I'm getting way ahead of myself here, but this game really made a lot of people happy. It really got a lot of people excited, more so than I wonder if they even thought it would. And I'm very confident this game is going to make a bit of a splash when it comes out in the fall. Now, how big of a splash will it make? That remains to be seen. But honestly, if it gives us a bit of nostalgia and lets us beat up some of our favorite Nickelodeon characters, I'm all for it. So, ready for more. Good luck to Fair Play Labs, Ludosity, and Game Mill Entertainment. They could have a huge game on their hands, and I'm looking forward to seeing more trailers throughout the rest of the summer up until its launch in the fall. With that, we are at the end of Cheesesteaks and Controllers episode number 56, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, and iHeartRadio. My name is Jason Fidelli, and I am the esports and gaming insider for Fox PHL The Gambler. Next week, coming back at you with more for episode Ketchup, episode Heinz 57. Already have a couple things in the works for that. I hope they pan out. If they do, obviously you'll be the first to know because you'll be tuning in to the podcast next week. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend and the week right behind it. I look forward to coming back to you next week with all of the latest in esports and video games as it happens. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your attention. You have no idea how much this means to me. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.